Every small West Texas town looked the same, but Jerome Frederick Kincannon, professor of potions and apothecary extraordinaire, still felt a thrill of what might be possible as he looked around the haphazard streets, his sharp, coal-colored eyes missing nothing. There had been a crudely painted sign alongside the dusty road coming in, proclaiming this desolate remnant to be chagrin. Jerome figured it would be more like jubilation if he found the men he had sought so hard for almost a year. Leland Benjamin, Curtis Benjamin, another gang member he had never heard named, and most of all, worst of all, Hank Benjamin, the leader of the notorious Benjamin gang, the man who had killed his wife and son in the most brutal fashion possible. At the persistent memory, Jerome sucked in his breath and squinted, letting a small tear roll down his cheek. It left a muddy trail that immediately dried in the hot air. Where it caked, it began to pucker the skin. Marcy. Arthur. He hastily turned his face and rubbed away the evidence of his caring against the padded shoulder of his trail-grimy pearl-gray coat. Luckily, there wasn't anyone to see this small reminiscence being swept away. He had to sell his wagon-load of potions, elixirs, and vile concoctions to keep going with his search for men whose faces he had never seen and whom he knew only through the bloody trail they had left behind. Showing any weakness detracted from his credibility when he interrogated lawmen and citizens alike. He snapped the reins and drove his medicine wagon through the middle of town, following a street that must have been laid out by following a drunk cow. There was a soul-numbing sameness to all these Texas towns because of the lack of water, the slow decay of the buildings, and a palpable malaise caused by the Butterfield Stage Company running fewer and fewer coaches. The railroad had bypassed Chagrin and laid tracks some distance away to the north through San Angelo. With cargo and people gathering around a distant depot, there wasn't any reason to come to a town like this. With or without a railroad, from the dilapidated look of the place, he wasn't sure why anyone had ever wanted to live in Chagrin. The simple desire of men and women to move on in search of the ever-elusive greener pastures was made easier by the very railroad that killed their town. They needed only to hop on a train and be halfway across the country in a few days. Only that easy escape wasn't offered by this town. For his part, Jerome Kincannon knew what he sought in Chagrin and every other town that was its twin: revenge.